Hello everyone. Last week I started showing you footage from the recent Aurora Borealis photo tour that I attended with some of you way up in Yellowknife, Canada. It was absolutely amazing, and I am linking that first video in the description below. During the trip, I had the opportunity to sit down with our fearless leader of the trip, Dr. Francisco Salgado. I asked him questions, and I got advice from the master himself for all of us. I can think of no better person to lead adventures like this, where science and art collide with amazing results. The interview was conducted in the business center of the hotel, and you will even see a couple of my viewers in the background, reviewing their shots and talking shop. I've linked their Instagram pages down below, with their permission, of course. Okay, let's go to that interview with Dr. Salgado now.
The illustrious Dr. Francisco Salgado. Hello.
Hi,
Welcome to my camera.
Thanks for having me.
So, I am here on a special tour where we're photographing the Aurora Borealis. Very exciting stuff. If you've been watching, you know all about it. You can probably see some of our cohorts in the background. And today I just wanted to chat with Dr. Salgado for a few minutes and pick his brain a little bit, and then I promise that we will share more information about this tour soon. We are in the business center, so there's going to be some interruptions. Let's go to question number one for you.
Very well.
First of all, before I get to question number one, I'm going to link to Dr. Salgado's site down below, because if you are interested at all in seeing the Northern Lights, this is the only way to do it. So, okay, here's my first question.
Yes.
My first question is, if someone is going to go out and photograph the night sky, be it the Northern Lights or astrophotography, if they're doing a time lapse or not, it's up to you. What would be the first thing that you would tell them when they are preparing to take photos?
I'll do a little homework about what it is that they are going to photograph. If it's the Milky Way, then there's a lot of astronomical software packages that help you plan, because they'll tell you exactly when the Milky Way is going to rise, where along the horizon, where it's going to transit or cross the sky, set, and so on. So when it comes to the moon, the Milky Way, the planets, it's very, very predictable, and so it lets you prepare ahead. And the kind of photography that I specialize in, astrophotography, is the wide field astrophotography that shows you the sky, but in the context of where you are. Right? You can take a camera, put it on a telescope, put it on a star tracker, and just concentrate on a chunk of the sky. And that you can get beautiful images, because what you do is you take multiple images, you stack them, and you're tracking those stars, so you're capturing more and more light, and that's beautiful in itself. But the kind of photography that I love is the one where, if I am in the Southwest, if I am in South Africa, if I'm in Australia, if I'm in Chile, to show this is how the sky looks like from this location and show the landscape. I love photographing around the first quarter moon, because first you start with, after the end of the blue hour, you get illumination by the moon, you get the landscape, then the moon sets around midnight and you get just stars. Okay, so I would say, prepare, do a little bit of research, wide field lenses, fast lenses, right? Because you'll try to capture as much light as possible. A camera that performs well in low light conditions. Now, when it comes to the aurora, it's the total opposite. There's no way to predict what they're going to do that particular night. Yes, you'll see some patterns that repeat from night to night, but that's what I love about it, that it's so exciting. I usually have up to 3 or 4 cameras, and I'm running from one camera to another, stopping a time-lapse sequence, starting another one. Why? Because the auroras are just moving, they're changing brightness, they're migrating in the sky, they're doing all sorts of things. So it's really, really exciting.
It is. That is the one thing that has surprised me throughout this week, is that There's astrophotography where you go out and it's kind of calm and
Exactly.
You choose your settings, you adjust your settings, you might move your tripod, and it's all very slow. And then out here it's completely different. It's fast and it's frantic sometimes. And if you plan and if you know your gear, you're able to capture it. Right?
Absolutely. And then, check your exposure so you can expose for the auroras, and of course you don't start clipping. Maybe you give yourself a little bit of room, because the auroras, it's very, very likely, especially if you start in the early parts of the evening, that are going to get brighter, and then they might start clipping, but you don't want to stop the sequence. So, and of course you get that, with experience. At the beginning, I was just stopping sequences and, it's gonna clip. And then by the time you start another sequence, you lose that continuity. So now I've learned to, give a little bit of, room, and hey, you know what, if it's gonna get bright and they're gonna clip, in my time-lapse sequence, it's just going to last a few seconds. It will show that simply the auroras get really bright, so they, might look white, and then they come down. So it's all experience. But I love the running around, and that's why also I don't get cold at night. I mean, I have, of course, you have to prepare, and that's another element, right? Prepare for the weather. But I'm always changing, going from one camera to another. The other night, if I have to choose between an aurora that it's really bright and very dynamic, but it lasts just a short while, and one that perhaps takes time to develop, but then you get the end result is that the sky is full of features, right? Different structures. So it happened the other night, right, with the group, and some folks were pointing towards the lake, and then there's another part of the lake pointing towards the road. And the landscape is so interesting with the Canadian shield, with trees that are not that tall, so they will not be an obstruction. They just add to your composition, and you have time. It's like kind of like we were saying about the Milky Way, right? They're moving and they're developing and so on, but it gives you time to I'm gonna try this composition and this angle and so on. So you're constantly thinking creatively throughout the night, and I love that.
Yeah, I think that during this week we've had both. We've had kind of that time where all of a sudden it was surrounding us and we had all this time, but then there was also those frantic times where right now the lights are out right now. Dr. Salgado says it's happening.
Right, and that's the other thing that you learn. You learn that you see some motion that means that it's gonna go from an arc, from a structure that is undulating, very, very slowly, to something where it's, what we call a substorm, where it's going to go very, very rapid. It's going to look brighter. You're going to see more colors with the naked eye, right? You're going to see that magenta from nitrogen molecule. Sometimes, or oftentimes, right overhead. And that's the other thing, the equipment. You need a tripod. You need in my case, I use a gimbal. It could be a video head, but something that you can quickly point to the zenith without having some kind of an obstruction in the instrument that you're using itself in the tripod. So yeah, those are things that you learn, by doing this, a lot, and that's what we do here, right? Share this knowledge with the participants so they can be better prepared and get great images.
Yeah. Well, I hear that you're going to be starting up your YouTube channel.
That's right. Which it already exists, and it just had a couple of clips, but now I have to populate it. Yeah, I have so many things to share. So yes, I think I'm going to start with equipment, with aurora, with processing techniques, and I have so much footage. I have been doing astrophotography, wide field. Night sky photography since probably 2000, at least professionally since 2008. As an amateur since I was in 8th grade, but professionally since 2008, and then the aurora since 2014. This is my 10th visit to Yellowknife, and I've been to other places to photograph the lights as well. So I have a big bank of, big archive of clips and examples. So for example, when I talk about the northern lights, instead of pulling images from the internet, I show my photographs, which I think people love because you remove degrees of separation, right? It's not the same thing. I say, I'm going to tell you about this particular structure, and this is a great example that I found online. When you tell people this is a photograph that I took and I was in Yellowknife or I was in Iceland or Fairbanks, you remove degrees of separation and then it becomes more anecdotal. Oh, so tell me about when you took that photograph. So it's not just about the science or the technique, but it becomes more anecdotal. So yeah, I have a lot of footage to share.
I'm excited. I'll link, excuse me, I'll link to that down below as well. So if you guys subscribe to his channel and hit the bell, you'll be notified when he starts uploading. So I'm really looking forward to that because his work is amazing.
Thank you.
He actually does a whole bunch of stuff with the night sky. It's not just the aurora, it's not just the Milky Way, it's a lot of stuff. So definitely check him out. And thank you for doing this because it has been a darn delight. That's what it's been this entire week, everybody. So check him out, and I'll be back in the coming weeks with my photography. I've got a few things up on Instagram right now. I'll link to that down below as well if you're curious about what we have been coming up with here in the Great White North. Great White North? I've been calling it the Great White North. Is that Canada?
Sure, yes.
Okay, good. The Great White North. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching.